All right, now we're going to bring in Gary Erickson, a longtime friend of mine. Know Gary for, I don't know, 20 years or so. Gary, you can unmute whenever you want there. Or have I muted you and you can't get in? Let me check here. I might have done that. Stand by.
There we go.
Ah,
How's
there we
that?
go. Wasn't sure if it was you or me. So
Yeah,
anyway, Gary is the managing partner for Executive Search Partners, and although he now lives in Florida, he has a long track record here in Michigan.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You're a CIO. I think all your business partners. That's Chief Information Officer for those folks that don't know. Believe all your business partners are former CIOs too, or not? Am I correct on that?
The three senior partners are all former CIOs. Everybody that works is one of our partners is got a strong background in IT. A couple at EDS, one at Cisco, that kind of background.
Yeah, that's pretty strong indeed.
Yeah.
So Gary gets a lot of job out there that around the country. Why don't you talk a little bit about your service in general? Then we'll kind of go into some details. So how does it all work?
Well, let me take two steps aside. Number one, let me say I really admire the quality of the TV picture that you have. I have to figure out how to get a better camera that looks so I can look as good as you
Oh,
do
thank you.
right now.
I can fix you up on that. After the show, I'll give you some tips on what cameras to
Right.
get. So
Good. And I was listening to Lisa, and she said, "Well, we want Michigan companies by Michigan." Well, I don't know that I'm a Michigan company anymore, even though the majority of our searches are in Michigan, and we virtually reside in Michigan. But I actually live in both Florida part of the year, and now talking to you from outside Denver, Colorado, right now. So
really,
yeah, so
I was thinking you still had a house somewhere in Michigan or something, but not the case.
no, that doesn't qualify. I don't have anything other than my company is virtually residing in there, which
Ah.
also relates to some of the searches that we've got. So I distracted myself enough to forget your question. Could you repeat it?
Well, the question was, why don't you explain how your service works and the types of people that you seek? Because I know you were in previous times we discussed this. You get like 1,000 resumes for a single
Yeah.
job. So let's kind of start with that, and then we'll work our way through how do they get to the top of your inbox, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Lisa mentioned that she posts for Buy Michigan companies and she gets 1,000 applications or whatever from India. It's the same thing in the search industry. We provide senior level IT search services for customers around the United States. But since our company was born in Michigan, since I had most of my career here, since all four of the in fact, all seven of the partners of the company are in or were in Michigan, as perhaps that's why we qualify. Several of our partners still live in Michigan. That's how I get to be the Buy Michigan now.
That's it. You can tell Lisa that she'll get you hooked up, and you'll be all
Yeah.
set, right?
So we provide senior level IT search services mainly for larger companies, but occasionally for smaller ones, and mainly in the United States. But occasionally we have a search in Germany right now that's going on.
Huh. And so, how many jobs would you say you have right now that you're searching for candidates on?
20.
Wow, that many, huh?
20. And I thought at some point I would highlight several of the ones that we've got going on. But 20 is actually one of the questions that I think you might be asking is what's the market like for senior IT people at this point?
What's
And
the market like for senior IT folks at this point?
it's pretty good, Mike. Thank you for asking that question. It's a really insightful, great question.
Uh,
Um, it's pretty solid. It's pretty strong. I think that once people started realizing that the vaccine was helping reduce the occurrence of COVID and that we could get out more, that the CFOs of companies started loosening the purse strings, and we saw a whole deluge of new searches starting last December.
hmm.
And we were at like 27 at last February and March, and because we've been filling some of the positions, and because the surge has passed by us, we're now in the sort of more steady state. We're at 20, and we're in the summer, which always gets a little slow. So we expect an uptick, right at the end of the summer, beginning of September on the searches. But thank you for asking that insightful question.
Well, thank you. Yes. So why don't you talk about a couple of them jobs that'll kind of illustrate what it is you guys do?
Well, we've got, for example, in Michigan, if we're starting with the buymichigannow.com that Lisa was talking about, we talk about two searches for a large auto supplier out of Auburn Hills, Michigan, where we're looking for both two positions. One, a director of analytics, somebody who really understands how to pull data together, cleanse it, organize it, and then provide access to it. That's one side. And the other side is they've got to be able to provide the help to the organization about how do I use analytics to improve whatever I'm doing. It could be marketing, sales, finance, or manufacturing, or product development. It's a really interesting search, and I've met an awful lot of really knowledgeable people in Michigan, and it's for Michigan-only candidates. For that same company, we're also looking for somebody who can run their global SAP Center of Excellence. And we've got and it's Michigan candidates only. So if you're talking about Buy Michigan Now, that company is buying Michigan now in terms of employment.
And both of those sound like fairly, I know how detailed those jobs are. Those probably are pretty well paying, right?
Well, let's see, the company does a pretty good job. The total compensation for the analytics position is probably around 285, which includes bonus and stock, and the total compensation for the other position, the SAP positions, are one step above the analytics position in terms of the organization structure for this company, probably around 350.
Wow, that's pretty good money. You can buy a couple items at buymichigannow.com with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a few cars
perhaps
made in Michigan, not in Germany.
Oh, yes. That's the thing is it used to be, I grew up in a blue-collar community, and I had a lot of friends who were in the UAW, and they wouldn't allow any but American-made cars in that parking lot. So,
yeah. We're seeing an interesting trend. Excuse me for interrupting you because I'm anticipating your next question. Sorry.
Okay, go right ahead. Yes.
What are some of the other positions that we might want to talk about? And I was thinking about, Lisa mentioned something about people working virtually.
Yep.
And we have several positions. We have a management consulting company where they're looking for managing directors. You can live anywhere, right? Because and they used to travel 100% of the time, and now they're looking at people staying at home and working with clients, virtually. And they've been very successful doing that. So we got a couple. We're looking for a managing director of cybersecurity practice, and we're looking for a managing director of digitization. And the compensation plan for those positions can be $750 to $1 million, primarily because they're working with clients and getting really large billing rates.
Yeah, that's pretty good pay there too. So the thing, I'm just getting ready to publish my newsletter. I'm waiting for, I was going to produce all these videos and throw them in the newsletter tonight so I could put it out tomorrow. But one of the stories in there was a survey. I can't remember who did it, but 40% of the people who have been working virtually want to stay working virtually. They do not want to go back to the office. Yes. So it's kind of interesting, and that you have a couple of positions where they would be able to do that, right? Yeah,
we've got that, and then we've got up in a company in Rochester, New York, who does medical imaging products, is looking for somebody effectively to be their director of manufacturing systems, but they say they can work anywhere. It's a global company. They got to come to the corporate office probably every once in a while, but they also have to travel to different manufacturing locations. And much of the time they can be working remotely with their team using a lot of the tools that IT has provided for them over time.
Huh, interesting. Well, we got a few minutes left. So now you got all these people going, damn, I want to make $750,000 a year. So, how do they rise to the top of the inbox? Because I know your inbox is pretty full. What are some of the things you can tell these would-be candidates before they approach you, what they really need to feature in their resumes or CVs or whatever it is they're submitting?
What we're recommending a lot, and people should do this anyway for no matter what job that they're looking for. We're recommending a concept that I think is still fairly unique to executive search partners. But you can't submit a generic resume. You've got to submit something specific. And to help the person reading the resume, a lot of people say, well, I send a cover letter, to say this is, and nobody reads cover letters for the most part. They may eventually read them, but if you want to catch the eye of the person looking at your resume, near the very top of the resume, right under your summary of who you are, put a short section that says qualifications for position and whatever it is you're applying for. And you can, if you look at the job posting and you truly understand the position, you should be able to put 4 or 5 reasons why somebody should consider you. And anytime you apply to one of our jobs, if we're looking for somebody who's, for example, the managing director of cybersecurity for this large management consulting company, you've got to have things that are in the listing, like you've got to have a track record of having sold cybersecurity engagements. You've got to have expertise in both remediation and the technical side of security, that kind of thing. Those are the kind of things that you need to put in there. If you don't have it, it's like, what is it, Tinder, left swipe, right swipe. I'm not sure which way it's showing up on the screen, but
All right.
I get I must get 200 resumes a day easily, and out of that I might get 5 or 6 that are qualified for the positions that we're looking for. It's a pain.
And then you submit those 4 or 5 to the client, and then they screen through them and decide which ones they want to actually interview. Is that how it works?
Now, what we do is we interview everybody first, and we go through there and make sure that they're a fit. And then we do a more detailed summary of why the person is a fit to the position. Whenever we work with a client, we work with them first to understand the depth of the kind of background they're looking for and the kind of things they expect the person to get done. And then we interview people based on those. And if we think the person can do that, then we present them to the client. And then we discuss it with the client. The client then says, yeah, you may be right. Let me do a video interview or a phone interview with them.
Sure. Interesting. So you got those 2 hot jobs in Michigan. Anything else in Michigan, since we have a Michigan-based program you can talk about?
Well, this director of manufacturing that's for a company out of Rochester, New York, they could be in Michigan. All right. So, any strong manufacturing background they're looking for, and we're looking for somebody who has really worked in discrete manufacturing plants, and who has IT knowledge and who has SAP experience.
Hence the reason that they get the big bucks, because those are 3 tough things to have, right?
Yep. And that's why you pay somebody like us, because we really understand the requirements in depth. We know how to screen the people. We know how to find the people. And we know how to make sure that this is the kind of position. The number one question we ask any candidate is, what are you looking for?
Right.
And then we try and figure out whether they think this is a good position for them. If it is, we can go forward. If it's not, we don't try and sell somebody they ought to consider it. Doesn't make sense.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of factors the candidates would have, like you said, whether they have to move and all that stuff for the family and this, that, and the other, and whether the wife approves, and if you have to deal with all that stuff, right?
Yep. One quick thing. Somebody said, how do you feel about the job? And somebody says, well, I need to talk with my wife first. That tends to be, especially if they have to relocate, that tends to be an indication that they're on the fence.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives them an out, right? Well, I can't do it because my wife doesn't think this is a good idea, kind of thing, right?
Right. But I do appreciate very much that people don't want to move, but the new world of being able to work remotely, I think, does help that.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm angling for. Is right now I'm physically located in Ann Arbor, but I have a couple of companies, as you know, that we're setting up, and I want to get it to the point in the next year or 2 where I can be wherever I want and do this. Because in the wintertime, I'm not such a big fan of Michigan.
Well, so you ought to live like I live in Sarasota, Florida, in the warmth, and now I'm in outside Denver, Colorado in the summer months, and it's a great way to live.
Oh yeah, I look forward to doing that as I gracefully age. I'm not sure of how gracefully, but certainly aging. So all right. Well, you got everybody all lathered up there, Gary, and they're going, gosh, I know I can get one of those big paying jobs. What do they do next?
Well, they can find the postings for the jobs either on LinkedIn. I think we've got all of them on LinkedIn, and we've also got them on ZipRecruiter. And if they think they're a fit, apply for the job through one of those 2 sites. That's the best way to do that.
Now, should they reach out to you personally, or do you kind of nix that
Oh,
idea?
all of their applications come to me personally.
They do. Okay,
Okay.
so you get 200 a day to look at, huh?
Yeah. I've still got another, starting this morning, whenever I started, I still got another 70 or 80 to go through that I haven't had a chance to look at yet.
Wow. Well, that makes for a long day,
And
doesn't it?
I haven't found a single one yet.
Really?
Incidentally, nobody for these 20 positions that we've got posted out there are in various places. I have not found a single person to fit any of them.
Wow, that's amazing. All right. Well, anybody out there, then you've heard it. Gary's looking for the right fit for these jobs, and if you think you are, I would reach out to him, you know.
Yeah.